I got thrown out of space when I was with my mum.
I remember the story,
because I got in there and I was just getting some polo mints out. That's all they were, honestly. And one of the security said, "You better leave."
Can I have them?
Yeah, chucked me out, and I was with my mum, and this is at the Carry-On after Manumission, and to this day, I still cringe about it. I'm like, how could I ever have got thrown out of space, and my mum wanted to stay in there? I mean,
do you remember the punch at one of the first?
We put ridiculous amounts of Comagra and Viagra in the punch. People used to give us stuff to put in the punch just so they could say, I was a part of that punch, but it was too strong. I walked into the woman's toilets, right, and I thought I'd killed everyone. They're all on the floor looking like.
Yeah, it happened. We got the toilets. Those toilets down there, there's loads of space. So they talked about the men's toilets. Like, no, I'm not paying in the men's. We're not paying the ladies. I remember like, the boys, you can't pay in the ladies. I'm like, this is Manumission. Of course we can pay in the ladies.
Send your kids to bed because you're going to be listening to
dirty auto DJ that does gagging.
Before we start, it has been 20 years since the Dirty Rotten DJs released Start Getting Naked, which was without doubt the track of the summer in 2005. It didn't get released widely at the time, and we're always being asked about it. Can we get a copy of Start Getting Naked? Dean's been asked about it. I'm being asked about it. Gary's being asked about it. And Dean has only gone and found this thing called Beatport and Spotify, and it's now available. Just check out the description. You can now go and Start Getting Naked. Now let's go and talk some shit about Ibiza. Hello, Shminky. How are you? But
By the way, just want to ask you straight away, are we allowed to swear on this podcast, or am I keeping it family friendly?
I'm not too sure.
Right.
We might have to bleep them out.
And I'm not really a potty mouth, to be honest. So,
I am.
You know, I know.
I can't help it. Can't help it around anyone.
I'm Shminky DJ. Did you introduce me?
I did, didn't I? Did I not?
I'll introduce you. Yo, 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 what you gonna do? Shminky DJ, Panda Ones and Tools.
My God. Because you're a big part of how I got into promoting. I didn't really know anything, did I?
I always had faith in you, Dexter Jones.
Yes. Now, what year did you arrive in Ibiza?
I got to Ibiza 2001 with my original DJ partner. He calls himself Juan Baptiste now, but at the time it was John Solo. So John Solo Baptiste. We came to Ibiza. It was 2001, yeah, a long time ago.
Doesn't it feel like yesterday, though?
Yeah, doesn't it just?
Yeah.
So we got to Ibiza 2001, and, you know, we had a plan of, like, you know, taking over, but you can't take over Ibiza. Ibiza takes you over, does it not?
Yeah. Why did you go to Ibiza? What drew you to it? Besides your dirty 18 to 30-year-old holidays, I know all about.
No, but that was way before. Because I was almost. Let's see.
You're almost 30.
I was at that time, but like I say, that was a while back. No, what drew me to Ibiza is like I'd come out of, you know, being in a rock and roll band.
Yeah, with the guitar in the background.
Years and years. Yeah. So then when that proved to be difficult to get to happen, I got into DJing through probably, like I say, the guy I was just talking about before, John Solo, like he taught me. Croydon Boys. Croydon Boys, yeah. So he taught me like DJing. We did a few promotions back in the day. In fact, going back, we did one of the very first, in fact, probably if you read the Face magazine going back, the very first morning afters event called the Twilight Zone in South London. Started in Brixton, moved to Clapham. That was my introduction to dance music then, because I'd always been a rock and roller up until that time.
What year was
I've been
that?
to a few. I can't remember. Don't ask me dates and years and names and stuff like that.
It's
because I can't
crazy.
remember.
Some people
It's
can just
probably-
go like,
It's probably about 93, 94.
yeah. That's
So
right.
we nobody had really heard of after parties at that time. I remember standing outside Ministry of Sound, Club UK, places like that with tickets, saying to people that were strangely making funny faces as they came out of the clubs.
Why was that?
I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. But like I say, I'll be like, so where are you off to now? It's like, I don't know, we're going home. It's like, well, this is open now. And people are like, what? Open now?
Yeah.
Wow, let's go. So, that took off in a big way. And that was kind of my introduction to promoting,
Was that
watching
when
him.
Leisure Lounge and all that lot started opening around that sort of year?
What's Leisure Lounge?
Leisure Lounge. It was
Leisure, I
a- it was a
remember-
Strawberry Sunday era sort of thing.
Yes. We
Yeah.
were before then. They all sort of started up slightly after us saw the
And
idea.
Sunny Side Up.
That's
all
right.
that- all that-
Yeah.
all that
So
lot, yeah.
we were slightly just before that. Well, that was my introduction to promoting in that sense. I'd always promoted rock and roll gigs before that. But dance music, obviously, I'd been to a few raves at that stage and thought, oh, this is a nice little scene. And then through that, I moved to Croydon from Clapham because I was Clapham boy and all that. The band was Fulham, that side of London. And the garage scene was blowing up at that stage. And I just loved it, the UK garage scene. So I got into that, and that's when I started DJing properly, I suppose. But at that time, I was one of the only DJs that was using digital. I had
CDs.
CDs.
I
But
remember
I
I know the
was
CD story from Ibiza.
Yeah.
You were using CDs
way before
years
everybody.
before everybody else.
In fact, back in those days, I actually called myself Digital Dean.
You absolute knobhead. Did you
Digital,
really?
yeah, Digital Dean.
What's what?
I was using, you see the old school CD players where you've got the deck underneath and you've got the little control.
Yeah.
on top.
Is it the one that
used-
used a Manumission
No,
in the toilets?
no, I don't think we used that one in the. We may have done
I think
Yeah, but
you did. It sounds familiar.
that old school. And I used to go on pirate radio, and everybody obviously is on vinyl thinking
Yeah.
this guy and used to absolutely smash it on the CDs. I couldn't use them now because they just didn't work
I
very
will
well.
never forget the day that I think you and me were in Coastline and Slip Matt turned up
Yeah.
with this a pocket full. He had 2 CDs or something, wasn't it?
Yes.
And that was it at Coastline. That was his
No,
set. And I was just
no, it wasn't Coastline. It was, what's the
Flares.
place? Yeah, that's right, Flares.
It was the party
Flares.
he did in Flares. But I originally saw Matt play first ever time without vinyl, using CDs in Coastline, and I thought
Yeah.
boring. I thought what a load of
Everybody told me it would never, ever happen.
yeah. And Matt was there doing that, but then Matt was probably one of the first guys who went onto the controllers, and all that sort of stuff. So he was well ahead of the game there.
Tell you a story, if I can,
Of course, you
Why,
can
how
all that
things-
stories here.
of how times have changed. A friend of mine, actually, it's solo, was on Facebook a few years back, and there's a lot of the young up and coming DJ dudes, and they were arguing about what a real DJ is. And he'd moved on to using controllers by this time, so he had controllers
Yeah.
USB. And one of these young stars was arguing with him, saying, "Yeah, but you can't be a proper DJ. You don't even use CDs."
Yeah, it's a bit mental. It's a bit mental. I only know how to mix on vinyl. It's
Right.
a weird thing. I can mix on vinyl. I wouldn't know where to start with a CDJ. That was when I moved to Ibiza. It was 2001, 2002, and then it was I was in Nightlife, and Alex and Dermot were playing vinyl all the time. And then the CDJ 1000s arrived upstairs in Coppers. But that was my initiation. But what was the scene like when you first got to Ibiza?
Right, so, your original question is like, what dragged me to Ibiza?
What was the scene like, though? What was it? What was the island
Ever
like?
so slightly. So, we went out there. So at that point, after the garage thing started to get a bit messy, and it's like, there was I couldn't see any way forward for me in that scene. Like, somebody was like, why don't you go to Ibiza and like play out there? And I'd always wanted to go and live in Spain. This was an opportunity, so I thought, yep. So packed up my studio, packed up everything I had, jumped in the back of an old Nissan Patrol with Solo, and we set off on the adventure to go Ibiza and try and make a name as DJs on the White Island.
Well, you didn't do too badly for a long, long time, man.
But when we got there, it was still really hippified. It was still really, anything goes. People were there for a good time, not a long time. It wasn't
And
about
on the run.
what you looked at. There's a lot of people escaping stuff.
I don't
as
know
well.
anything about that, mate.
No. Well, it's even for me, it was like escaping the UK at the time, just coming out. I don't want to get all political, but coming out of the government that was in at that time, that I just couldn't bear to be there in the UK anymore. So it was just a perfect time. And Ibiza, Spain, felt like, it felt free. It felt like you could do whatever you wanted to do, be whoever you wanted to be, without any, sort of comeback or whatever. The truth was obviously not as simple as that, but, it was great when I got out there. It was different.
The 2000s were very, I think a lot of people went there and worked there because they were really into the music, they were really into the scene, they were really into the party. They were on the run. They were,
totally.
They were escaping something. And there was everyone that came together in communities like the Ship or the West End were very like-minded.
Yeah.
And they went there to party. And the thing is, they party hard, but they worked hard as well.
No, exactly.
And I think that's what we did well when we began the worker events. Everyone would still work till 4 a.m. And then we part on our parties from 4 a.m. till midday.
Yeah.
And they'd rave, and then they'd go straight to work.
Do you remember the first sunrise party we did?
I was going to get into this. Yeah, I was like, shall we let the listeners and the viewers understand how shipwrecked the boat party began?
Yeah.
I mean, the beginning wasn't on a boat, was it?
Well, no. Yeah, it was in the Ship.
Yeah. I mean, let's see, how many people can fit in the Ship Inn pub in Ibiza?
What amazed me about that is like through the winter, because obviously me and Mike, you were staying in the winter. This is 2002, wasn't it? You were staying through the winter by this stage.
Straight away. I flew back. I did my first summer and I flew back on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Missed it too much.
Yeah, no, exactly. So through the winter, me and Monkey, we had a little residency in the Ship, and I remember like when people just for the locals, like people that were around, San Ann heads and stuff like that, shots at the bar, all of that stuff. It's like a proper little community. The Ship was like a front room.
Andy was running the bar, yeah?
I can't remember. Somebody was.
I remember nothing. I thought I was bad.
No, I'm terrible.
Yeah.
Names and stuff like that. Situation scenarios, like I remember, but names, details, dates.
Pleasant Dave's the worst with that. One time, Pleasant Dave.
Pleasant, yeah.
He worked with Kirsty the entire summer.
Yeah.
She went home, come back, she sat outside the Ship.
Hey, you didn't recognise her?
She ran up to him and went, Dave. And Dave's like,
Who are you? Yeah, sounds about right.
I think obviously no alcohol or anything was involved in that.
No, not at all.
That loss of memory,
Not at all.
especially with Pleasant Dave. He's
No,
still
not at
there.
all.
He's still in Ibiza.
Some of them have still managed to survive that.
I know. I think if I stayed there, I'd be dead. And I really do mean that. I think I'd be dead.
Totally. Well, we know that's obviously something that we might come on to at some point in the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't think when you're living in Ibiza, especially during the winter months, and especially when there was no social media, I don't think we really understood how hard we were hitting it.
No, not at all.
Drink and drugs and partying.
I didn't do those. I didn't
all
do
the
those.
other vices. And no, I didn't. I
didn't do those.
Frankly, I frowned upon those who did. And whoever you are, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Well, not ashamed of yourself. Just be careful.
Yes. Learn from your mistakes.
Yes.
But it was the winters in Ibiza before the era of social media was a whole different ballgame because there was literally nothing to do. The women and the girls, I mean, what work could they do? I mean, there was a bit of cleaning work, a bit of bar work.
Totally.
Nothing.
If you're lucky.
The men went on the building sites.
Yep.
And I couldn't build for toss.
Nor could I. I wasn't good at demolitions, but, you did whatever you could do to make a bit of money.
And you just
that's island life.
You just ended up in a pub. Literally.
That's island life.
And I remember one particular year, I think it was 2005 or 6, hit it so hard in the winter that when summer turned up, I was like, I wasn't ready for it. And I was just burnt out in May, and I still had to go through. I think this was I started with the last drop at the top of the West End, working 7 days a week from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. with Pleasant Dave.
Crazy hours, wasn't it?
And
crazy hours.
And I was just burnt out going into that. And so we did work hard and we did play hard. It's just,
let me bring you back for a second. Shipwrecked.
Yes.
That's where we were. Shipwrecked. Winter. Ibiza. Then all of a sudden, people started turning up for the summer. And there was a few people about. And I remember we did this one gig. And you decided to get involved with the Dirty Rotten DJs.
I was a manager.
Yeah. Well, not at that point you weren't.
I was
the pub.
Yeah. Manager.
That's right.
And I don't know why he gave me the job because I was shit.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, no. But that's what I'm saying. That's when I realized the genius of Dexter Jones. So it's like there's a few people, like the normal locals in the pub, like whatever. And we were playing, having a laugh as we normally do, shots at the bar, all that. And then you said, this is nonsense. I'm going to go and get some people in. So you disappeared outside. Me and Monkey were just like, whatever. Then all of a sudden, people started turning up into the pub. Now. Like one after the other. I remember thinking, where are these people coming from? And what you'd done is like you'd gone into the West End and told all the workers, anybody that you could come down the ship. There's a couple of Manumission DJs playing down there. That was it. And before we knew it, the place was rammed. So, kudos to you, mate. Like that was part of the beginning of that, worker thing that happened.
It's all come back to me. I mean, I honestly didn't remember all that. I just remember just sitting on top of the fruit machine going, I can't get to the bar.
Yeah. There was Ibiza DJs like turning up at the door. Couldn't get in. Said, "No, sorry, it's packed." Not that first day, but it's picked up.
We did about 3 or 4 of those events, and then the last one, the police closed us down. I think a couple.
Did they? I don't remember.
Yeah. And I'm
probably
I'm
too
not
drunk
too
to remember.
sure, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That a couple of the Cafe Concierto licensees were a bit off with us, and made a phone call.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Did we have to get door staff in the end?
Yeah, but they were terrible because they were drunk. The police turned up and gave us 2 denuncias on the final event, and we never had any issues. And that was when I decided I jumped up on the pool table because I think we must have discussed this.
Right.
And shouted, "Fuck it, does anybody fancy doing this on a boat?"
Yes. No, what used to go around the saying was, because like there's people queuing up, people can't get it. It's
We're
like,
going to
we
need
need a bigger boat. We need a bigger boat. And of course, the ship's bell was there, which was obviously part of every build up and breakdown that went on with you, like ringing the bell, and like so in the build ups and stuff. And thinking about it, that first shipwreck, I can see the poster there behind you.
Yeah, it's
One
all
of the
here.
first
I've got
shipwrecks.
the Dirty Rotten DJ posters from Shipwrecked up here. You
Really?
can't see them. Yeah, I'll
Really?
send a photo to them of them to you. But,
So that bell actually came on the first boat, didn't it?
yeah, I stole it from the ship,
Yeah,
much
that's
to
right.
Luke's pleasure.
Yes.
He was like, yeah. I don't think he appreciated that.
no.
But it
That
worked.
was the pirate one, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first one was the pirate, and it was in the
That's right.
daytime. The first
That's
ever
right, yeah.
Shipwrecked boat parties were 2 in the daytime, and then we
Yeah.
went into the morning.
Yeah.
And it was pajama party.
Can't remember that it was a pajama party.
Yeah.
All I remember was thinking, you know what? Like everybody else is doing these sunset cruises, but when we've done them, all the workers have to like run off the boat and get to work. Why don't we do the opposite? Like my whole like view on stuff is like whatever's happening, try and do the opposite of what it is, because
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just kind of like that. So I said, why don't we do a morning one? A sunrise cruise.
How
Let's
did
see
they
how
ever
that works.
agree to that? And I'm not
Back
even
in the day, we were quite persuasive, I think, mate.
and the punch.
Yes.
Nowadays, I'd
there's
probably
there's some myths that like might be expelled.
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
so-
Nowadays,
that's
doing
it.
that, you'd probably end up getting 5 years.
Well, I always used to think, why are you stood on the like next to the decks? No, not you. Why did people stand next to the decks with like cameras on them and stuff, dishing out this like sort of
Louis.
innocuous
Oh,
liquor?
is
Yeah.
it? I actually didn't invent it.
No,
Particular young lady at the beginnings of the K from Rumours and Gorm's Garage called Eri.
oh,
Actually, yes.
yeah, yes.
And
yes.
and she, funny enough, she messaged me this morning. She
What is
emailed-
Gorm's Garage now, by the way?
probably closed down, mate. Most of the West End's
yeah.
closed down, unfortunately.
No, I remember when I came out to do
It was a strip
first one
club.
more time. That's right, yeah. When I came to, I think it's turned into apartments or something like that. It looked like
It was when I went over there last time. It was definitely just Gorm's Garage, but
Right.
closed.
right.
But it's all of that area is closed. And I think even Kilty's is closed. and
Right.
It's a real shame, you know. But everything's shifted. I think COVID had a massive part to
Oh,
play in that.
COVID. Oh my God. Need to say something here. When I came to Ibiza, it was like literally the first time, I think. No. Yeah, the first time after COVID, the second time I'd been back. I don't know. I think that COVID and the lockdown, I mean, I think, you know, the whole world had it bad. But places like Ibiza, it must have been, I can't even imagine what it was like there, money-wise and stuff like that. Like, you know, people must have been, you know, on their last legs, literally. And I don't know, I fear that some of the innocence of, you know, some of our mates out there was lost during that time. Because when I went back, I don't know, maybe there was still a hangover from it, but it didn't feel the same. Do you know what I mean?
The whole island was closed for 2 years.
Yeah.
I believe that tourism, but I don't believe any of the club scene was open. Well, I know
Right.
the club scene wasn't open, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and off the back of that, the VIP culture has really exploded, and
Yeah.
you don't have the West End anymore, which is a major. They changed a lot of the rules to allow the bars and the establishments to operate like they used to, and they
Yeah.
no longer can. So there's only a few of them left, which is sad to see. Which is really, really sad to see. So
No, it just feels like, do you know what? What it feels like a lot of the usual suspects have actually grew up a lot during that time. That's what it seems like to me. And, you know, good in one way, but at the same time, it's like going to Ibiza now, it's like everything when you go there is completely different. Everything's completely different to 2001. However, absolutely nothing's changed. You know?
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. Like, people have
Nothing's
grown
changed.
up, whatever, but nothing's changed at all. It's still the
I
same.
love going over there still.
Really?
I know. It gets I don't drink anymore, obviously, but it
Why is
gets
that, Dexter?
because just because I'm an absolute arse.
That's all you need to say. Just because.
Just because. I'm allergic to it.
No, I know that. I know.
Yes,
I
of course. But
you know, obviously, I've lived
But I tell you
through
what,
that with my missus as well. So, you know, people from Ibiza know that, you know, drink is hardcore. And when you're over there,
you don't realize.
You don't realize. And then you come back to the UK, and it's like it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and you think, well, I can't walk down into town and get a shot with my mate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I was going to meetings, and I remember traveling up to Victoria Station, trying to get my life in order after coming back from Ibiza, and I was having to go into pubs before meetings and stuff. And I thought, you got a real issue here.
Yeah.
And then it just expanded from there. But when you're in Ibiza, you just have got no idea.
Yeah, what you're doing,
of the amount that you're drinking.
Yeah.
And when I look back on it, I don't actually have any regrets. It was. I had such a good laugh.
That
man.
was our time, mate. That was a time.
I had such a great time. I mean, with the Dirty Rotten DJs, and how did you and Gary meet? How did you become the Dirty Rotten DJs? And who invented the name?
So this is like one of those, when you go back in the history of time, memories may differ slightly. But I've mentioned John Solo, so we went over to Ibiza. We were to smash it out there. We had an apartment. Sasera, Jaime, top band, Sasera.
Yeah.
So we were there. We brought the studio out. We like put the decks up, like, so we could watch the sunset, play tunes, all of that, you know, perfect stuff. And then next door, like a few days after we moved in, like a new lot moved in. So basically Gary and Dorian, remember Dorian? Dorian Manumission.
Yeah.
So they moved in next door, and, you know, we were playing tunes, like, and actually what had happened was we'd made a chill out tune, like me and John, before we came out, for the birth of, like, his kid at the time. I don't even remember what it was called now, but we'd used a sample from, what's it called? What's the film?
That's on Encounters of the Third Kind.
Right, so we'd used that sample, and Gary next door heard us playing it, and like one day he's like over the balcony, we were talking, he's like, oh, I heard that sample that you used. I've been thinking of doing something like that. And I was like, oh, really? Are you into music? It's like, am I into music? No, one of those. So we started chatting, got to know him a bit. Remember, like, so we had the system set up, obviously, at ours. They were next door. And we'd come back from names. What's the R&B club?
Simples.
So we'd ended up in Soul City. We'd ended up in Simples, like, got to know Gary a bit more, having a chat and a laugh and whatever. So we're all going back, and like, oh, we're going to play some shit. He's like, can we come over? Can we play some tunes? And it's like, yeah. He's like, oh, can I have a go in your decks? We're like, yeah, sure, mate. So he's jumped over the wall, got his bag of tunes, jumped back next door, and just went absolutely mental, scratching, like dropping, like that. And me and John were just looking at like, we might as well go back to London.
He's a serious talent, man.
Yeah, serious talent.
He's a serious natural talent. I'm not going to go into how he learned and how he used to listen to his mixes on here.
Yeah, but
he has a very unique way of doing it.
Yes. And the thing is, you could tell that he couldn't wait to get over and show off his skills. And like I say, me and John were just like, that is like
he
pure,
was Eddie
pure
Halliwell's standard, at scratching technical at that time. I think they were even playing in the same venue, weren't they?
Back in the day, weren't they? What was it? The club they played up north somewhere.
Gatecrasher?
Was it Gatecrasher?
Something.
And Eddie Halliwell was in the
smaller rooms or something.
Yeah. So, like through that, I just got to know him, like hanging out. He was a funny geezer, and I like funny geezers, and we used to have a laugh. And then we started doing, me and John set up that early learning centre, remember, in
Burger King.
Burger King, which is now Burger King.
If everyone's listening, it's Burger King, which is next to Lineker's now, which used to be the Unity.
That's right.
Morning bars, we're talking
morning
here.
bars. So we used to like, and because me and John had come from doing that Twilight Zone, like we used to drive past and like see just a few people sitting outside, like having a drink at like 6 o'clock in the bright sunlight and the hammocks and stuff, and think, why isn't there music there? And obviously I had my sound system, I hassled, and we got it started.
And you fitted it there, yeah?
And we started it. So Monkey used to come down to that all the time after wherever he'd been. Absolutely
still be able to mix perfectly. I've held him up when he's been playing, and he's that wobbly. I've held him up when he's been scratching, and he's still scratching perfectly.
Like perfect. And I remember, do you remember his thing that year? Oh, that might have been the year before you came. Like, he used to walk around, and his prop was this rubber chicken. Do you remember the rubber chicken?
It is vaguely familiar.
And he used to hang it out of his trousers. And he used to walk up to everybody completely pie-eyed. You know, when he's gone, and his eyes are like, looking at like 10 to 2 or whatever. And he used to walk up to everyone and go, look at me fucking... I remember thinking, this guy is hilarious. So there was that. Then we got Manumission. And
how did that come about? That was going to be one of my big questions. I mean, first of all, you started playing with Gary. How did the Manumission thing come about?
Well, like, how did Manumission Toilet start? So we went there, and randomly, while we were in Croydon, we used to do this thing on a Sunday called FNUK, the original.
Oh my God, it just sounds
one of those. No, because we know there's another FNUK and they've smashed it with the name, so it's like, good luck to them. But like, we used to do FNUK, and so we met Dorman there, and like, we're just chatting. We're like, yeah, we're going out to Ibiza in the summer. He's like, hey, what can Ibiza? I know people. Do you remember him? Kian.
That rings a bell. Oh my God,
and
yes.
like Simon, was it Simon? Aladdin Lights.
No way.
Right, so he worked for him. He was like high up in Manumission at the time, and basically through him, like, we had a contact at Manumission. Then we managed to like blag ourselves a gig at Savannah. See, when we went out to Ibiza, like, this was the thing. We figured out that to be a working DJ out there, you need to have your hand in your air in lots of different pots.
Genres.
So when we went out, people would ask us, what do you play? And we'd be like, what do you want us to play? So we got the gig in Savannah's, like doing like a few daytimes and a few afternoons. Then we had this one where, well, it was a party, and what's the guy who owns Savannah's and Mambo's? Yes, yeah. We're in there, and it rained. And I'm like, no, this is just going to ruin it. It's going to ruin our chance. But anyways, everything got moved inside, and it was literally the best thing that happened, because it ended
That's where
up...
you learn. bad weather in Ibiza means people drink more and party more.
And they're inside, and it like ends up being a good atmosphere.
In Ibiza.
So through Kian and Simon Aladdin, it's like, let's try and get them for the toilets. And it happened. We got the toilets. This is me and Solo. This like where it started. The first day that we did that, remember, so in Manumission, you walk down the stairs and there's an electrical cupboard. So there was the electrical cupboard, and that's where the DJs played. And I'm like, is this it? This tiny little place? Okay, so people walk past, see you. But it was, Manumission was hot. Ibiza's hot. That cupboard was ridiculously hot. And also, we didn't even have a monitor. It was down the other end of the...
And you got them booming down the stairs.
And I just remember thinking that this is ridiculous. And then one of my, ideas, again, going opposite to the grain, I was like, look, those toilets down there, there's loads of space. Why don't we just play in the toilets,
isn't it? Yeah.
So we went through Simon, who went through and was like, I suppose you could play in the toilets. Like, so they talked about the men's toilets. Like, no, I'm not playing in the men's. We're not playing the ladies. I remember, like,
they loved it.
The boys, you can't play in the ladies. I'm like, this is Manumission. Of course I can play in the ladies. And like, of course you can. And, that's how that started.
How do you feel when you see it? I have a party in the toilets now. Have you seen any footage of that?
You know what? I haven't actually seen any footage.
There is a DJ, Jason By, I think, is kind of one of the residents, with Paul Reynolds pops down there, and they put a set of decks and a good sound system and a lighting system in the toilets.
In the ladies' toilets?
The old space. I don't know whether they're...
I see.
I've never been there. I've never been to the new high. Only very much space. Possibly we'll go there this year. But they have it off in the toilets, and it looks wicked. They've got proper DJ booth, not like how it was at Manumission. But you guys were the originals with that. But may I ask, did Fatboy Slim play in the toilets?
The year before us.
The year before he did. Yeah, I knew there was some sort of history there, because he does talk about it.
Yeah, he definitely did, and that was like part of the thing. It's like, we're going to play in the toilets where Fatboy Slim played. So I'm like, wow. Then I turned up and it's this little box, and I thought, really? I bet he didn't play here often.
I had the weirdest introduction to Manumission. I came with
your mum.
No, let's not talk about that. But we'll talk about that in a minute. I think that was space. I took my mum, and I did take her to Manumission.
Peach's gallery, and I asked her for a picture.
I did take her to Manumission, and I took her to space. She's been to a Rave. I got thrown out of space, didn't I?
Did you? I don't remember.
I got thrown out of space when I was with my mum.
I remember the story,
because I got in there and I was just getting some polo mints out. That's all they were, honestly. And one of the security said, "You better leave."
Can I have them?
Yeah. And he chucked me out, and I was with my mum, and this is at the Carry-On after Manumission, and to this day, I still cringe about it. I'm like, how could I ever have got thrown out of
with your mum
space, and my mum wanted to stay
How is she,
in
by
there.
the way? Is she okay?
Oh, she's great. Yeah, she's great. She's
loving the grandkids, I bet.
Oh, my, yeah. She doesn't really talk to me now.
That's how it works. Once they're born, mate, you don't exist anymore, mate.
Exactly. But let's go back to the Manumission thing.
We digress again.
This is how I remember my first ever visit to Manumission. I went with you, Monkey, Judge, in the Beetle, I think, and you in your car, and you said you can get a sieve. What you do is you say you help us carry the equipment in.
Yeah.
But the equipment was full of booze. We can say that now, can't we?
Yeah,
it's 20 years later.
Yeah, of course. And everybody knew we were bringing booze in. It's not like we were selling it or anything like that. It was literally...
But that's how you smuggled me in. And then me and Judge were just in the cubicle because it was by the cubicles, waiting for the music to come on upstairs. So I turned up at this biggest club in the world with these weirdos. I'd only been there 2 weeks, right?
Really?
Yeah. And I was with Judge, you guys, and you walked me in, and I'd never been into Privilege. So my first ever view of Privilege, Manumission, was these toilets. I thought, this is great, isn't it? Yeah. And then, and all of a sudden, the music's come on. Chris Judge is going, all right, then let's go upstairs. And he walked me up the stairs, and I just walked up the toilet stairs, and it just opens up, doesn't it, into this huge space. And I was just blown away, And I think I'll never, ever forget that. It was just like, oh my God, this is Manumission. And there was no one there, you know, and I remember staying there the whole night and
seeing the people turn up as well.
Oh my God, it's just another level. It's just,
but the reason, you got to remember, the reason that we were taking alcohol and drinks in is because, the first day we did Manumission was that's right. Yeah, one of the first times we did that. And we're thinking, massive club, all this is like, it's really hot. And remember how expensive the drinks were in Privilege at the time. Like, literally, even in them days, a bottle of water was like 12 euros or something ridiculous like that. Oh, no, it was potatoes in them days, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it was like however
when it moved to
So it's however many potatoes it was. So
potatoes.
You
said potatoes.
Yeah. Some say potatoes, some say potatoes.
Potatoes.
So, and I remember they brought us 2 drinks tickets, and the heat in that place and the money that we were getting, I can't remember what it was at the time. It was literally 3 drinks you would buy each would be, your money. And I remember thinking, this is just ridiculous. And then when we moved into the toilets, we had that little back office.
Yeah.
And
it was just easy to hide, wasn't it? And I mean,
everybody knew.
People go on about Ibiza drinks being expensive. I know they have gone very, very expensive in certain venues now, but the drinks have always been expensive, even from the 80s and 90s. They've always been really high price. So you just got to expect that. But I remember when we were doing Paradis, the back room of Paradis, it was great because we had Bongo with us. So we used to stash all his beers in the bongos.
Yeah.
Chris Brown's now turning and what?
Well, no, but
we still hassled them for drinks tickets.
That was another one. It's like we had loads of people like helping us out, dancers and stuff like that. And I just remember thinking, it's ridiculous. These people are helping the party happen, and then they get very little wages, and you expect them to, buy drinks in the club. So I just thought, let's sneak them in. So I used to go out, buy like a load of whatever, put it in bongos, but even water.
For the
dancers and stuff.
We did it all the time. So to all the venue owners out there, if we ever held a party at your venue, we always brought our own booze in.
Yeah. Well, we didn't take the mickey. No, we looked after the people that were like, promoting your venue by working for peanuts, basically. Yeah. So
it was just very difficult because I think the one thing that we always did, we were always, our music and our events from Shipwrecked to this Dirty Rotten Slut Party, which we'll go into in a minute, were always audience-led and performance-led and crowd-led.
Totally.
So we always had a lot of performers. Do you remember the first Shipwreck? We had stilt walkers, we had fire breathers, we had, you don't get that nowadays,
Really?
No. We had with all this sort of thing. There's just stilt walk on a boat nowadays going overboard.
Yeah.
We had Dingo, the fire breather.
Yes.
He never ever had a lighter on it.
We just smoke him.
Yeah. I've never known, he'd never had a lighter on him, and he's like got petrol dripping all over him, whatever it is, asking people for a light, I just don't think they would do that nowadays. But let's get round to, we did Shipwrecked, and then we decided to do some land parties, the slut party.
Dirty, rotten
slut party. As you can see, I have one of the flags over there. I have a sign up there that I was I was given at our last reunion. And how was that name created by you knobheads? It had nothing to do with me.
Okay.
And who on earth thought that we would just go, yeah, we're just going to get all the workers to dress up in suspenders and underwear?
That would be me. Everybody thought it would never work, but I knew that it would. So
how did it come?
Dirty Rotten
about?
DJs, like we were the Dirty Rotten DJs from before, and I remember like how that name came about. It was just me and Monkey, that just at the time were very mucky minded people. And I just remember one day,
you were swingers clubs. You were DJing at swingers clubs.
I know, we were very, very mucky minded. That's the thing, mucky minded that never really did anything, just mucky minded. And I remember one day, this was 70s, 80s, like, because we used to do, remember we used to do the 70s, 80s,
yep,
running 70s, 80s by Shutmore. And he used to do the lights, and we used to get absolutely larruped. And, you know, as conversations go in the background, you're just chatting we were looking for a name at the time, because by this time we'd realised that we could work together as a DJ team. And I just remember saying, we're such dirty, rotten, and he was like, dirty, rotten DJs, which is how the Dirty Rotten DJs came about. And then we realised it was really difficult in Ibiza to make a name for yourself, get the big gigs and stuff like that, even though we had Manumission and stuff. And always in the past, like going back to Croydon, going back to even like way back in the day, I'm just one of those people. It's like, if it's not working that way, I'll try and find another way. It's like, I'll do it myself. So we were talking one winter. I can't remember where we were. Excuse me. And we thought, we need to do our own party. What should we call it? And it's like, let's just come out with the most outrageous name that anybody's ever thought of. And just like, what about, blah, 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 went through, it's like Slut Party popped up. And we were like, yeah, Dirty Rotten Slut Party.
Never forget when you said that. And I was just like, nope.
Yeah,
that would never work. I remember when you told me you were outside the ship with your Range Rover and you told me about it. And I was just like, no, let's just concentrate on Shipwrecked. No, we're not doing that. We're no way doing that. And then the first night we did it, I was standing there. And obviously the slut parties and the shipwrecks were very much focused on the workers at the time.
Yeah,
we all finished at 4.
Yeah.
So there's me wandering around at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock going, there's no way this is going to work. And I can't remember. It was at Cafe Paradise, wasn't it? With Terry.
No, not
yes, it was.
The first one, was it?
I think
no,
so.
The first one was in...
Hush.
No. The very first one was, what's that one where you go downstairs and it's near the egg and it's downstairs in there. And apparently there was like a right dodgy geezer that owned
Ecstasis.
Yeah, that was the first one.
No. It was later, because we did Blue Impact first. We did other things first, right?
Right.
Yeah. Anyway. I was standing around the West End saying, no one's going to get dressed up, you know. And then at about 4:10, everyone started appearing from all sorts of roads in the West End, and it was the blokes. And they're all like in heels and suspenders and bras.
Right. So
what it was, all glammed up.
So what it was, I clocked that Ibiza at that time, DJs were the coolest people on the island, and like it was all about the beautiful people and all of that stuff. And I just remember like walking around and seeing that, especially with the girls, everybody's beautiful in their own way. But the normal girls that weren't, you know, the model-looking girls and stuff like that, they were getting left out of the picture.
They did, yes.
And I remember thinking to myself, and I saw that, you know, the whole slop thing. Everybody's got that, you know, dirty edge. And wants to actually show off, but like they weren't, you know, actually getting given the chance. which is why I thought, yeah, let's do this, but like open it up. It's about the workers. And if you have that kind of mindset, but you're not given the chance, this is your chance to come off and show that side of your personality. So that was the idea. And I kind of knew that all the girls at the time would be up. I just knew that they'd be up for it, just talking to people and
The
stuff
boys
like that.
were up for it just as much.
But no, the first one of the first ones I remember at Blue Impact or whatever it was. Remember, we had the little
Swimming pools and
swimming pool and like all of that stuff. And the first one, or whether it's the first one or not, I say memory fades. It ended up with loads of blokes all taking pictures of like the dressed up or the slightly dressed girls. And I remember, that's not going to work. That's not what we want. So after that, we made it a thing that the guys had to dress up as well, or we wouldn't let them in. We would have done, but that was like what went down. And that's what changed the emphasis. That's what made it not a slut party in that sense. That's what made it, like I used to call it, fun fetish, so like that fun fetish party.
Yeah.
And it was the guys that really, really as well took it to the next level, like, and made Smurf, it what it was.
All Whirl.
Smurf, legend.
Legend. Spike.
Yeah,
remember he had the Vickers outfit.
Yeah.
The Vickers outfit. And then when he looked at him in the back, the whole back of the outfit was missing. It was just him in suspenders.
Yeah.
I was just
legendary.
But it was absolutely...
It was about empowerment for the people. I remember there was one of the dancers we had at... one year in Slut Party, and like she was like one of our main dancers, but she used to come and dance at Manumission, like they had the dancers like on the stairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I remember her saying to me, she's such a good dancer. So I remember her saying to me, we're chatting just like, I've just been sacked from Head Candy.
Yeah, I know, like, it was judgment. Really? It was judgment.
I was like, why? Because remember, it was all about the angels and stuff like that. They had the wings and all of that stuff going on. So I've just been sacked from there. I was like, why? It's like, because I sweat too much on it.
Yeah, I know. She was a great dancer.
And I remember, come and dance for us, please.
And she was on that upstairs on the little stages in the back room at Paradis.
That's right.
With Burnley Joe.
Yes. Yeah. So, that was the attitude at the time. And that's the whole thing. I just remember thinking, and I just wanted to break with that tradition by introducing something that was about the people that made San Antonio, Ibiza work.
It was just very unfortunate. It worked very well in the mornings because obviously the workers were off. But as soon as we were forced through legislation to move into the evening, we were screwed because that year, as we discussed
the first one at Kenya, like that one that we did at Kenya, that like people were saying to me next day it was one of the greatest parties ever. But then the next
Slipmouth said it's one of the best parties he's ever played in Ibiza. That's an accolade.
Yeah, Hots and Whores were saying the same thing. But then the week after that, Carl Cox did Free for Workers on the same night as us. So
and Siesta opened that year. Swedish House Mafia started off that year, and it just slowly dwindled us away. And we weren't a nighttime event.
No,
we were a morning party event, but because of what was going on with the local politics, they first of all banned the morning parties in San Antonio. So we got around that by busing people. Remember, we got buses to Beverly's Swingers Club.
Like that was the last part. That was the masquerade ball, wasn't it?
That was the masquerade ball. Yeah. We had to bring in extra fridges and one thing that always sits on my memory about that is a story about when we finished. We finished at about 2 p.m. In the afternoon, and when I'm really late, and there was can you imagine? There was a bus stop just at the top of the road by Beverly's.
Yeah.
Well, everyone decided to get the bus home. So you could imagine this bus has just turned up. Can you imagine just being in Ibiza or just going way to work, to school, whatever, and 100, because that's what ever fits on a cut coat, off their nut sluts just turn up, sweaty and dribbling after being a swingers club all night, and apparently there was singing all the way back. The wheels on the bus go round and round, and I would just wish I was on that bus. And another bus time is when we did the morning parties at Space.
Yes.
And we provided buses then, didn't we?
Yeah.
But we put the punch, if
Yes.
you know what I mean, the special punch on the bus.
Yes.
And by the time they got to playing Mbossa, it was just a different story, really. I mean,
do you remember the punch at one of the first slut parties?
the one that knocked everyone out? I thought it killed everyone.
No. It wasn't Blue Impact. You don't seem to
Oh,
remember.
yes. No, I opened the Blue Impact one with the Camagra and the Viagra. We put ridiculous amounts of Camagra and Viagra in the punch, and just
Flashed up.
with God knows how much.
That's another myth expelled. That's why you were so horny on that day, guys.
Yes, and it's
Wasn't
that-
our idea. It wasn't our idea,
No,
by the
I-
way.
I-
No, me and you.
People
there
used
was
to
nothing.
give us stuff to put in the punch,
Yeah,
just so
yeah.
they could say, "Yeah, I was a part of that punch."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
do one was too strong, and I thought,
Wonderful.
Yeah, and it
Yes, I
just
remember.
it completely screwed the. I thought I walked into the women's toilets, right, and I thought I'd killed everyone. They're all on the floor looking like, and it was just too strong. And
Everybody knew what they were doing at the time. Nothing was done without people's prior consent.
everybody knew what they were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knew what they were doing. It was obvious, but you couldn't get away with it nowadays. You'd end up inside.
Can you imagine?
You'd be nicked with that.
Can you imagine?
I would be nicked.
Yes.
But I used to get a little bit worried about going on the boat. So I thought, "Oh, if I get pulled over going on the boat, I'm doing it for a couple of years." I did sometimes.
All right, yeah.
Oh, God, but yeah, they were crazy and wild times. Ibiza has changed, and a lot of people use this expression. Everything, what's the word? Evolves.
Yes.
But in my opinion, everything doesn't evolve for the better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love Ibiza, but I do miss that freedom that it used to have. And it's now literally run by a handful of corporations.
Right.
And it's
The company.
yes, but I love it there. And what we do at One More Time is different because we're not involved in techno, deep house, or this EDM-y sort of world. We're very classic-y. So
Yeah.
we've got our own audience,
Yeah.
and I don't, and that we have a community who follows us and attends the events, and through them, and God bless them,
We love you all.
we're still managing to do what we do. But who says that's going to be the same in 2 years' time?
Yeah, no,
Because it is getting harder and harder and harder. Every year there's more and more costs put on events. There's more and more
I keep
possible
on saying to you, Dexter
promoters.
Jones, why don't we do more in the UK?
Because there's so much that goes on in the UK. Well,
Not this one.
this is one thing.
But
as
that's
well.
another. That's another.
It's
That's
a
another
whole
time,
other
yeah.
story. I'd love to, but also I just
Come
find
to
that
the Isle of Wight.
it's
I'm telling you, H. You know what I mean? We'll smash it over there.
it's a
over there.
conversation.
Yeah.
But I do also see that with the market that we're in, there's a lot of other promoters that play a similar sort of sound
Right.
that do operate in the UK, and I
Yeah.
think we'd struggle. And what we do is quite unique in Ibiza.
Yeah.
So
I
I'd
don't
rather
think you
fo-
could bring the slut party to the Isle of Wight.
I don't think you'd
really.
ever be able to bring the slut party back ever
Yeah,
again.
well, in fact, it's now called the SLT party, isn't it? On Facebook.
We've got a bit of a ticking off by Facebook for that.
It's amazing the things people get away with on social media, and we're not allowed to do that. But hey, I'm not getting political.
Could you imagine Instagram, TikTok, Facebook slut parties now?
Yeah.
it just wouldn't happen. I remember having
What
this
was that?
conversation
What was
with
that? What was
Julian, and
that?
he said there's not a chance.
What was that? The original sort of social media party website, Don't Stay In,
Don't
or
stay in. Yes.
remember? Yeah,
Yep, all
because
of
you
our
could get away
photos.
with it on there back in the
Yeah,
day.
all of
Can't
our
believe they
photos were on there.
deleted all our
Yeah,
pictures.
all the hard drives have gone.
Yeah.
And I know that I know the business got sold, so I've spoken to the new owner, and the photos are no longer in existence. And I think some people will say, "Thank God,"
So I was just about to say.
and some people will say, "Yeah." But I've had I've had a crazy times on the island. But just moving on, let's talk about the winters in Ibiza. I mean,
Super Sundays.
Oh my God! You jumped to the deep end then, didn't you?
Yeah, Super Sundays.
I mean, if we look back now at the people who were there in our time in the winter, like Ryan, Sinead, Lizzie's, the Jane, the Steves, all of those people that were always there every winter, that nucleus of people, and we did party harder more in the winter than we did
Yes.
in the summer.
Well, you couldn't party properly in the summer because no matter what happened, you always had to get up to go to work.
And we did work.
And we did work 7 days a week. I tell people now when I was at Shat Malls, it was 7 nights a week, 9 till 6 in the morning.
Yeah, I was 4 p.m. Me and Dave, 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. 7 days a week in the last drop.
Yeah.
God, no wonder he looked like an extra from the Lord of the Rings by the time the summer had finished.
Yeah, so, we worked, and it's like, but, you always know people that were meant to stay the winter, because you get people like, yeah, I'm staying the winter. And then after about 3 weeks,
They're gone.
They're just looking at it as like, there's not a lot happening, is there? But you knew the people that were meant to stay because they actually preferred the winter to the summer. Yeah. People don't understand that, but it's like you could be who you wanted to be, you could do what you wanted to do, and money was always hard. But, we're talking about like 3-4 week long. Remember, we used to do the radio show, HFM. Remember HFM? So it was on a Thursday, we used to do the radio show in the winter, Dirty Rotten DJs on HFM with Dave Johnson.
I got waxed live on radio.
Yes, yeah.
It was the most
we had
horrible experience of my life.
What's it? 40-Year-Old Virgin. Have you not seen that film, 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Oh yes,
and he gets waxed. It was, it was like that. But so it would be Thursday, HFM, then everybody'd be listening down, what was that bar? Was it Mermaid Bar? No.
The small bar, the really
small bar.
Mermaid.
Mermaid. So you go down to the Mermaid, like afterwards, everybody's in there drinking. Then we had like something on a Friday, like in the ship or wherever, like different venues.
And then there's the Noche and all those Spanish
so
bars.
Then like that would be the next one. Saturday, like, is still going on from the Friday night. Sunday would be Super Sunday.
Now, what is Super Sundays?
Super Sundays, and this was way before Sky came up with Super Sunday for the football. Super Sunday was people didn't really eat. People didn't really eat, did they?
We used to pick different venues, didn't we?
Yeah, so somebody would host it. Somebody would host it every week. So they'd like do the food, do whatever, and everybody else would bring everything else. And it was just mayhem, basically, every Sunday. So,
and we always finished off in a chip, didn't we? We always finished it off in a chip.
Always finished off somewhere.
Do you remember that time when Martin, we froze, was it either Martin or Paul? He got his trousers wet, and he put them in the freezer where they put the ice. And after a couple of hours, we pulled his jeans out, and they're like frozen solid. And then there's Simba up on stage stripping.
Yeah.
all the things that kind of used to go on. I
Super
can't really
Sundays. So
they were
yeah, so
great,
there
yeah.
was Super Sundays, and then on the Monday there were still people who couldn't let it go from
Yeah.
the Super Sunday.
In the ship.
Tuesday, yeah, in the ship or at home or whatever, but normally in the ship. Tuesday, Wednesday was kind of recovery days, kind of, and then Thursday it'd start up again. So
Yeah.
it was just insanity, but so much fun. And you know, it was such a beautiful little community that all looked after each other. We, you know, he's hungry, hasn't got food, so you come round, you looked after each other.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
winters in Ibiza, it was lovely. It was lovely.
Great. It was great. And tell me about your days at Bar M. Obviously,
Bar
that was
M.
one of your. That was a big part of your Ibiza journey.
What do you want to know?
Was it you and John that went in there first, or was it you and Gary?
Yes, yeah. Or was it me and John?
Was it?
No. See, yeah, the first.
Was it up the tree days?
Yeah,
Was it in
yeah.
the tree,
Me
or?
and John did a thing like played up the tree, back in the day, but we didn't get the residency till the year after, I think. I can't remember. Oh, it's like such a long time ago. You know, I don't remember the dates, but eventually it was. I think me and Gary might have done a few slots in 2002, and I think we got it properly in 2003, perhaps. But yeah, Bar M, Ibiza Rock Bar. Bar M was
For us, it's Bar
it
M.
was an amazing voice. Oscar. If anyone doesn't know, he was the manager of Bar M, absolute legend of Ibiza, married to
Kelly.
Ellie, that's
And
right,
now
yeah.
lives in Australia.
Yeah, lives in Australia, like, big shout
How
out
did
to
she
you
manage
guys.
that one?
Listen, she's from Croydon as well,
Yeah,
isn't she?
I know. These
Croydon girl.
birds, you've got to watch out.
Yeah. Turned up, like stayed in the caravan with her kids, decided Ibiza's where she wants to be, and
Smashed
respect to her, smashed it.
Absolutely smashed it. So when you're over in Ibiza, but I'm just going to come to kind of the end of this discussion.
Yes.
What would be back then? What is kind of your dream lineup? Who would you used to go and really want to see DJing? I mean, who was what were
I
the?
knew this was going to come up. I remember like doing an interview
It's completely different nowadays.
one time was with I did a few interviews back in the day, and people asking me who my favourite DJs were. The honest truth is, like, I didn't really have any, and to this day, I still haven't really got any. I like good music, and that could be anything from pop, from R&B, all the way up to EDM or trance or whatever it is. If it's a good tune, it's a good tune. And if like a DJ is giving it, I appreciate it. But I don't know, I've spent so much time in music. Even on Ibiza, it's like I didn't necessarily think about, I'm going to go to that party and see him, or I'm going to go to that party and see him. I'm, slightly different in that sense. I was there. I was having a good time. I was a DJ. I enjoyed what I did. And that's all that really mattered to me. I wasn't sort of hooked up on this DJ
what
and that
DJs
DJ.
as well.
Yeah.
Which is very much what it is nowadays. I mean, brands such as One More Time and brands like the Creams, the Judgment Sundays, the Head Candies, they don't really exist anymore because the DJs are so big now. It's so DJ orientated. So you have the night designed around a DJ. For example, Camel Fat at Pasha, that's a night. Fisher at High, or wherever he's going to be this year, that's a night. Cream was a brand with a load of DJs. And that has kind of left and gone. Head Candy, that sort of, you go there because it's an awesome brand.
Cream.
That is kind of gone.
Do you remember the first Cream party that we did?
Oh my God, I'd forgotten
Did you
about
forget
that.
about that
the
one?
terrace.
The
We did the terrace.
See,
yeah.
that for me was actually the birth of the Dirty Rotten DJs. We've been about, we played blah, blah, played blah, blah, played blah, blah, done this, that, and the other. and then we got that gig at Cream.
For those who won't know about this, we were given a huge workers guest list when
biggest guest list ever in the history of Cream,
and they all turned up.
And they all said, but the thing was, like at that point, that's when I knew that something was really happening Dirty Rotten wise. People were turning up with T-shirts they'd made themselves, Dirty Rotten and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, wow, people really do appreciate what we're doing.
It was a good night that was. It's burnt into my memory forever. And my last question would
strangely enough, we never got another gig there, but that's the way it goes.
It's weird when you do really well somewhere, isn't it?
I said to Gary afterwards, we'll never get another gig here. And he said, no, I thought we've done really well.
Yeah.
Like, no, because it wasn't Cream. Well. It wasn't Cream. It was Dirty Rotten.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And also, it's very strange. It's like we have this every year when if you have a successful summer, we always used to come back and the venue would always go, you did really well last year. We are now going to fuck you for money this year. And you will take it. You will bend over and take it. And you know what,
Carl Cox year, don't you remember that? Sorry,
it still goes on.
Yeah,
it
that
still
Carl
goes on
Cox
today.
year that we did that party, that year, we weren't supposed to be in Canyon. We were supposed to have a back room at Eden.
Yeah.
But we'd started at Judgments and, you know, like
things
powers that be, like, decided that we couldn't be at Judgments and have our own back room, and we got moved to Kenya. So, you know,
yeah, very political place. It still is, unfortunately. But I think within the whole entertainment industry, it's very, very political. So my final question, and thank you very much for joining me on this.
Love you, Dextros.
One more.
Love you, Ibiza. Love you.
What would be your one last tune of the night if you were to drop it right now to flat party?
Start getting naked.
Of course.
Start getting naked.
Do you know
can I expel a myth about that one as well? We were still like doing the gigs in the ship. Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Gary were around by this stage. There was a dancer there. Like, you know, good looking girl, whatever, great dancer. She befriended us. We were chatting and stuff. And I said to her, listen, I've got an idea. We've got to do this like workers' party in the ship after this. We've got a tune called Start Getting Naked. When we play that, like, I'll pay you if you want. Like, I'll give you the eye. Would you jump up on the fridge and expose yourself? And she said, yeah. That sounds like a great idea. I'll do that.
She was a stripper, wasn't she? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So she came down, like, played the tune, Start Getting Naked, and she got her breasticles out. Basically, that's how that whole thing started.
And it
like,
started
with her,
other people off doing it.
Yeah, started other people.
Yeah.
What was the guy that was behind the bar at the time?
Tom.
Was it Tom?
Tom, yeah.
Tom.
Yeah.
Or afterwards, he said, "Day one parties, they're amazing. They start getting naked. Everybody starts getting into itself." I remember thinking, that was a plot.
Yeah, a year later, we were doing these in space, you know?
Yeah.
It was an incredible era for us. Anyway, Dean, I want to thank you very much. All right then, my old friend and our old mentor. Thank you very much for joining us. And
next time I see you, I'm going to lick your ear.
Oh my God, we used to do that, didn't we?